big support there for the UK.
France starting further back than UK.
Yeah, that's right. They're just being countered, but they're a little bit indisciplined in as much as they're moving around, which isn't going to make it easy. So I think they're looking for... Well, they are making it a little bit more compact at the back there. UK fighters not moving at all, and ready. You can see, I think there's going to be a charge from the French here, coming in through the side. Neither team going for that vulnerable middle section there. However, it's a nice thrust forward and turning into a triangle formation from the...
One of the UK fighters obviously lost his weapon, ran back, got it, entering into the fray again. I think he's already gone down, his energy taken to the ground. So we have one UK fighter down, otherwise everyone else still standing. One French fighter being dragged out into the center of the list, meaning that
it looks like there's a trip there. So the French are still in the middle of the list there. And the UK trying to break through the lines here. Now that's an interesting move. The UK have broken through. The UK fighter holding on to the list there. So there is a line, but a UK fighter goes down, as does a French fighter. Very close this. I think it's pretty equal at the moment. Maybe more UK fighters on the ground.
I do believe the French have that line in the center, so they're keeping it strong.
They are, yeah. The UK fighters instead piling into the Frenchman on the side.
Clearly badly hit. Maybe medic will need to get to him. He needs to hold on to himself. I think the French and UK fighter near him.
He does look pretty badly injured there, it has to be said. We can't quite see, but he's rolling around in some agony there.
It's UK fighter choosing to stand up to try to get the attention of the marshals. UK fighters looking after him.
Yeah, I think that a marshal is actually trying to... So yeah, medical attention has been called for immediately.
It is a very unfortunate situation when a fighter is injured to the point where the whole fight needs to stop. Hopefully all fighters stay grounded or in their positions.
Henrikas, the assistant there to the UK team, has gone straight to his aid, but the medics really need to get in. He needs to understand what the problem is, because of course they need to loosen his armor. That is why Henrikas needs to be there.
There's a few movers on the field. They need to make sure that they get back to their position if they choose to restart, or they may have to restart from, looks like
they would be from that point. It's very important. Now this is the problem, that some fighters try and get a bit sneaky about it and get up in these moments.
Where they've lost it now, all fighters are now moving around the field. The replay we see here shows that the French had a very strong line, UK doing their best, that fighter losing his weapon and having to get back to the baseline and grab another one. These strong hits coming down from the halberds on both sides, but not enough to break a line. One Frenchman dragged through. Very smart tactics from UK, again trying to pull through some fighters and take them out one by one, but it doesn't end in their favor, it looks like.
Yeah, that's true, and you can see going for that middle position that the French were quite compact there. So it looks like, this UK fighter will be stretchered off.
It is unfortunate for him. The fight will continue. It'll be interesting to see how they fare in this second round. Yeah,
two French fighters down at the bottom part of the list, and actually getting up. They need to be very careful of that. There looks to be some discomfort there, and I'm not sure, in fact, if that is Pasha.
I do believe that is Pasha.
Yeah, that looks like Pasha Trulov, who is in Bristol in the Southwest team, and he's a real character in the sport.
He is. I've had the pleasure and the annoyance of meeting him many times.
Yes, but he's a very skilled fighter.
Yeah, hopefully he's not injured too badly.
Yeah.
The issue here now is whether all the fighters were down. There seems to be an incredible amount of French fighters that are actually still standing, and I think maybe there may have been one or two that got up that shouldn't have.
That's possible, yeah. There's one Frenchman in the corner there just shuffling out of the list, and I think, they're clearing out now, so...
It'd be interesting to see if they go for an entire new round, or whether they start with the amount of down fighters.
They'll start with the down fighters. I believe they're being asked to leave the list.
Any down fighters are leaving the list. Not all of them, though. There are quite clearly a couple of Brits on your screen and a Frenchman who's actually an Israeli, not being asked to leave
And
the
they're
list
being
just yet.
told to leave now. There's another Frenchman
And
again.
then we
He's been
have
told to
Knight Marshall
leave.
choosing to get them out of the field so they can start with a fresh fight with the numbers they have. I do believe it's very similar, but I do think the French might have an advantage in numbers.
Okay, there seems to be some discussion there, some difficulty with the UK. You can't see it on your screen now, but there is an issue. The team captain, Lucas, and the head there, Henricus, are having a word with the marshals. That seems to be about a point of armour. But the French really want to get back into this. It does give them a moment to regain their energy.
I would tell you very strongly that there's no reason that Pasha would have been on the ground flailing if there wasn't something seriously wrong.
Yeah.
When we mention he's a character, he's incredibly positive. And it goes through a lot of hardship in his life, but trains incredibly hard to make sure that he's here. It's like one of his only true loves is fighting.
Yeah, that's right. And smoking. He smokes far too much, you know. We're speaking about his how physically. I mean, I can't talk. I've got a beer in front of me. That's
Two
true.
beers,
I'll
but
give you
okay.
that. 2 beers. Yeah, well, one's finished. So.
Looks like the fight might be about to begin.
Yep.
Both teams getting ready. I'm not quite sure if there's any number advantage there.
UK quite far forward there, but I think they are outnumbered slightly by the French team.
I don't know. To be honest, we're getting this. We've got an overview on a monitor here, and it'd be hard to count them all. But honestly, I think that they have. We're trying to do a count here.
13 French fighters already.
It's pretty much even. I think maybe actually 14 British fighters.
Right, okay, so maybe they have the advantage there.
Bit of a conversation again with the captain of the UK team and the Knight Marshal.
Yeah.
The
Not
French,
sure what's that and that's about, but you got one fighter who seems to want to get involved who's got nothing to do with it, but that's purely a waste of time.
We see the French flag, the fleur de lis, the flag of the, I believe, the Royalists back in the day. Interesting, obviously, France being a republic now, and I don't think any of these French members are actually Royalists in the team, but choosing to be a bit more historically accurate.
Absolutely.
With their armour, as we have seen with Germany.
Germany using those Frisian colours there.
Yeah, I mean, clearly even with the St. John from England.
St. George.
St. George. Forgive me, I'm not English.
It doesn't matter. You have to be English to see that that's the St. George cross.
I think you should be impressed that I even know that there is a St. George cross. Us Australians try to distance ourselves as much as possible from the from our UK heritage.
With a name like Tarek, that's quite evident.
It seems that the fight is about to go underway.
And the Knight Marshal calls it. They get started. A fast rush there for the
French. A bit tentative in the centre. UK looking to hold themselves. A UK runner getting caught.
Well, that's a nice barge, though. It's taken 3 Frenchmen away from the fray there, but the UK fighters really need to capitalise on the fact that they will be occupied there.
A bit weak in that centre, not really choosing to do much. I think the UK fighters need to work on one side or the other. We see a bit of a bundle building up in this corner here.
Appears to be a gauntlet in the middle of the list there.
It'll be interesting to see whose that was and whether or not they have been taken out.
Well, this is it, yeah.
I don't think there's been a single fighter going down except for one UK fighter,
yeah,
which they had to spare. It's a fantastic showing here. Everybody being very cautious. Runners not really doing their job. They need to be really engaging people when they least expect it. That one UK fighter still in the corner off to the left of your screen.
Yeah, it is quite as slow, this. I think that UK fighter has to be very careful. Lucky to grip onto the list there.
We're seeing now, I think, a UK fighter holding up another UK fighter.
You can see that, yeah, that's incredible. Really trying to lift up his own teammate. Great shove there. However, it comes to nothing, goes straight into the list.
Give him a bit of a win.
Oh, there's some big takedowns going on here now.
We're seeing
Frenchmen are starting to fall. You can see they're starting to tie it in the middle of the runners. Now mildly ineffectual, and there's a Frenchman which has been downed by
another English fighter going down. I do believe this is now in French territory.
Oh yeah, I think
the English are not giving up.
That's true. However, it's all France now, much stronger in terms of numbers. And even in the far corner, there is a 1 versus 1 skirmish, which I don't think anybody has noticed.
No.
Now you have another Frenchman to his help, and that's another English fighter down.
We see Pavel in the center there doing his best to hold himself up against 2 or 3 fighters up. Has been taken down now with the leg
the
being
French
squeezed out from
now
underneath them.
dominating this round. Only 4 more UK fighters still standing compared to a good 10, I think it will be, for
Now only 3
9.
UK fighters left.
Yeah, that's it. Another one is down. I think they're going to call that. That's it. Round there to France. Big win there for the French. I'll be very happy with that.
Y el asalto es para Francia en esta batalla de 21 contra 21.
It'd be interesting to see how they come back from this.
Well, if you remember, they were 1 round down against Poland, and they came back in the second and took the third. So, never say never.
Never say never indeed. These UK fighters, I think, being some of the most intelligent fighters at the entire Battle of the Nations, changing their tactics nearly every single round,
Yeah, very tactical fighters.
and yet still being able to pull it off. I don't know if they have a playbook or whether or not they simply work very well as a team and know their roles.
That's a good question. We do have some medical assistants just outside the list. I'm not quite sure what has happened.
Towards a French fighter,
Yeah,
I believe.
that's right. So the UK team have made their substitutions and are now closing the list gate, whereas the French still appear to be going through them of who should enter into it next. Marshall lining the fighters up for the official count.
Some solid lines there from the UK fighters, even though the marshals are double checking everything, making sure they've got the numbers right. French fighters taking the time to relax on the edge of the list. Even your arms covered in that armor can become quite heavy and wearing on you.
That's right.
UK fighters, I think, willing to go, want to obviously change things up and take a win, just like they did with the Polish fighters.
Well, can they do it? They'll be very worn down now. However, they don't really have the French have the skill and experience to take this. We saw them fight very well against the Italians.
But then so did the Poles, and UK was able to defeat them.
Yeah, this is true. And I think with that experience is going to bode well for them. But the will to win, which was the award that went to the UK,
Definitely in
I
their
think
favour.
they'll put it to
Good
the test
use.
now.
Yeah, the interesting thing will be if UK actually chooses to charge as much as they should. They were getting a bit soft in the centre there when they should have been taking the opportunity to take people. The runners breaking through, but they're being just caught in the back and unable to do anything.
That's right, yeah.
So other fighters need to capitalise once those runners go through. They need to engage and try to knock them off their feet.
So the Marshal Valentin Kalin finishes his count there. Knight Marshal calls for the start of the fight.
Strong centre charge by Britain.
Yep.
Not the halberdiers not getting as involved as maybe they should. No runners yet coming through. One.
They do have one UK fighter who's pushing back the Frenchman there, trying to take down at the edge there. You can see what a block there from the
We'll see another
UK
runner
fighters.
come through. A lot of power. We see one Frenchman down, another UK fighter down.
Well, there's at least two UK fighters
seeing-
down there.
I'm
They're
seeing
starting to pile up. There's a big pile of fighters on the right side of the screen there. Now to the left, you can see.
Unfortunately, some fighters going down while backing up.
This is the problem when you get piles. That's why they need
Brilliant
to
charge on
move out.
screen from an English fighter, taking 2 Frenchmen to the edge of the list.
Oh, that's a
Doing
great
another-
takedown there for the UK. There's one down on his knee there. So still, I think the French with the numbers here. However, great charges from the United Kingdom.
He did a fantastic job. The only reason he went down was because of his gauntlet that came off.
Right.
This could still be anyone's fight. French having a slight numerical advantage.
Yeah, I think they've got the advantage here, and they're going to capitalise on this. However, you do have
a few English fighters.
Oh, that's a big takedown there from the Frenchman. Now France with the advantage over the United Kingdom. Can they come back for this? UK taking some punishment there on the side of the list. France going for a very bold takedown. Doesn't quite manage it.
You can see now the marshals getting involved, making sure that the fighters are not standing on this UK fighter.
Yeah, he's actually standing on the UK fighter. He's got to be stopped there.
UK fighter clearly hitting at the leg. One of the marshals telling the other marshal not to get involved. The fight continues on the other side.
Yeah.
One UK fighter looking like he's willingly dropping there. Frenchman nearly tumbling over his own compatriot off the side.
Yeah, you can see, however, that the French do have the advantage now. These two French fighters, tired as they may be, they are still hammering down on that UK fighter in the corner. As things have broken off a little bit, but the French now smashing into the UK fighters. 3 against Pavel Kurzak there.
Another French fighter goes down just off the side of our screen.
Right.
Over one of his friendly team members.
That's a nice turn. Even the score slightly there. However, we still have all these blue shirts here, and France very, very close. It is only about 5-3 at the moment.
This is very unfortunate. We see another tussle there, nearly taking that French fighter down.
Got impressive work from the UK fighter. However, he might have his legs swept from under him. That's going to make it very difficult to continue. So the marshals actually calling it, I believe. And that is it. And France go out with a victory.
Fantastically done. It was a little concerning to watch just off screen. An English fighter taking down one member of a French team, and them choosing to move to the side and reposition himself. A marshal telling him to leave the arena, meaning that that English fighter then loses the opportunity to push the French fighter. To push the French fighter over one of his downed team members. Interesting decisions from the marshals to try to clear out the fight. Fantastic toss there in the replay by taking at the legs of that French fighter. There were some brilliant displays, like then a solid shot from the Frenchman, nearly knocking over his own Israeli mercenary. Some fantastic two-handed work there from the Englishman. And a strong English charge there off the corner of your screen, but unfortunately he followed him down to the ground. I believe that was a brilliant... this is the replay again. Sorry that we had to cut that. That was the moment the English fighter with the very decorative shield tripped the Ukrainian fighter and took him to the ground. We do see the Russians taking the list now. Obviously pretty fresh. Let's see if the Ukrainians